Zoom live on YouTube. It's your TA report boys. Um, we have GP and we have Nick, Jeff DI, and we have Bags, the Swedish chef. Gentlemen, it's not been so long since we talked last. What a great episode we had with Cookie. I love when he comes on because he will literally talk forever
Yeah.
for us.
No.
And I don't mean for us, not like we ever are short on things to say, and it's always insightful. But it's just such a knowledge drop in the hour we get with him, and I love it.
Yeah, I did too. I really enjoy listening to him talk. It's fascinating. I don't necessarily like chart or look at TA the same way he does.
Right.
And I really I don't know. I love it. Yeah.
You were
So
awful quiet, Nick. You were really absorbing it all.
yeah, like I don't do a lot of like when it comes to TA, I'm generally looking for like long horizontal channels and basically long horizontal channels and like base breaks where like it's range, it's generally range expansion. And like the way he kind of like looks, I think GP, I think you do it very similarly too, in the sense that like you guys look for almost like kind of like the behavioral repetition or like, for instance, like AMD, this three candles like between today, Friday and Thursday looks almost like identical to the candles like 11-1, 11-2 to 11-3. I know it's kind of like a very specific example, but like the way that he like looks at like longer term kind of like behavioral and like how they repeat to kind of like manage his expectations like going forward, I find extremely fascinating. It's just I mean, that's kind of what technical analysis is, I think, is the study of like human, the human of like, or, I'm sorry, the study of like human psychology in like chart form. And it's just like a different way of looking at it. I don't know. Yeah, I was taking it all and I like it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. I think like everyone can learn and know TA, right? But so do the people you're trading against, right? So
Yeah.
you just it's like, oh, it held the 20 day, and so it should no, it's most likely going to break and reverse over, right? So it's just things that you gotta kind of just because it held it to the penny or something like that doesn't normally usually mean that it's going to hold, right? It's I think everyone knows the TA part, especially like those the people who are calling for pattern recognition versus uh horizontal pivots and the lesser known kind of TA stuff, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to combine all that stuff together and also to add in some of the fundamental and like some of the more option flow stuff is also good to see what's kind of driving the markets. And for a long time, we've been doing this for a long time. It's usually been price driving the markets, though it hasn't been really. I mean, people actually buying and selling stocks. If it just feels like flows driving the markets these days. And I know it goes against everything that the market stands for, but it sure feels like it.
Well,
Yeah. I read a book, several years ago called Trade the Trader.
Yeah,
And it really seems like as 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, like hopping on the internet, like, dude, you couldn't find shit when it came to like technical analysis even like the study of like, even if you wanted to like try and figure out how to become like a day trader, you know, back pre-credit crisis, like there was nothing. Like you couldn't find a thing as far as like education, et cetera, et cetera. And between social media and the ease of access to information and like education, it's almost becoming like I'm trying to ask myself if technical analysis is becoming almost more predictive or less predictive, and on like what time frame. So like the more you zoom out, I almost feel like the more reliable these kind of various patterns are, versus like you going down in time frame. I think you're going to find a lot more kind of like games being played, where it's like, okay, if everybody has read every book on technical analysis and understands that like the 200-day moving average is just kind of this general and kind of long-term moving average that investors look at, you should expect some games to be played when price comes into the 200-day, right? Or the 50-day, or however you want to, like whatever moving average you want to use. Um, I think in particular, like what I enjoyed was like talking about how to like, I don't know, like using moving averages to kind of
Yeah, literally,
identify like
that's all he
behavior.
uses. That's all he
Yeah,
uses, moving averages and price.
yeah, yeah.
But
So
sorry, Nick, I didn't mean
no,
to cut
I
you
was
off.
just saying
Continue.
like it's becoming a much more like trade the trader, I think. It's becoming like a trade the trader, not so much like necessarily even trading the charts. I mean, it is, but um, everyone has access to the same information. Everyone's read the same books.
But there's a lot
It's
of
just
false prophets, right? So
yeah,
there's a
yeah,
lot of people who've pretended to read books and actually do the work and stuff like that. They looked at maybe five charts and like, oh, that's a cup and handle, right? And like a lot of people haven't understood what the cup and handle actually represents, right? You can't get a
yeah,
cup and handle after losing 90%. That's not a cup and handle. The cup and handle is a continuation pattern, right? Um, and head and shoulders midstream in a downtrend aren't head and shoulders. It's just part of the downtrend,
All right.
yeah,
right? So there's to me there's still, and I've talked about this at length, is I think there's technical analysis and then there's real technical analysis, people who actually apply thought to their process, right? Versus just throwing patterns out there. And so I quite often talk about candles without context, right?
sure,
And so a lot of these things are candles without context. And if you want to just trade, pivot highs and pivot lows, you can do that. And I think a lot of the strat, I believe, is similar to that, right? It breaks low, it goes down to the next low. That's your ORB stuff, right? The opening range breakouts. Those are very similar.
Yep.
I mean, pretty much, yeah. Like if you're trading pivots, you might as well just call yourself a momentum trader. You know, like I kind of to this point, we talked about, I don't know if it was last week or a few weeks ago when we were talking about NVDA and how everyone was calling for like the head and shoulders, or and on I think the SMH as well. And it's like, okay, if a head and shoulders is a like an implied bearish pattern, do you remember this conversation or where I'm going with this, where it was like a failed head and shoulders is almost more bullish than like,
Right.
well, a more powerful pattern than, I'm sorry, than just like a head and shoulders. And I think that's another example of like one, understanding TA and like the psychology of the markets as a whole. Like if
Well,
if
it's
the
also understanding our own psychology, right? Not just the market, but actually buying at your points or at your pivots or at your moving average, right? And I think that
yeah,
I think that messes with everybody's head, right? Like you can put some lower points on a chart and you can say, "Oh man, I don't think it'll ever get there." And then when it gets there, do you buy it, right?
yeah, yeah,
So I think that's everybody's psyche, and some of us have worked over the years to maybe push that type of thought out of our mind. But coming back to everything that Cookie was showing and doing, right? Like I think there's a lot of psychology built in those charts, not just following the moving averages, even though at the end of the day, it's if it breaks the 9 weekly or the 9 monthly, I don't want any part of it. We talked about Nikola and we saw all that volume. Cookie didn't even, that wasn't even on his radar, right? Because the volume, it's like, has it captured the 9? Same thing when we talked to him in at the end of September about Bitcoin. It's like I've sold all my stake. I'm not in any of it until what happened. It captured the 9, right? And I think we can look at trades as being so ugly that we don't want to be in them, and then we can be in trades that look so ugly and we are in them because of our bias. And it's sort of how do we shake that mental bias? And Nick, I think you do a great job of that. GP, I think you do a great job of that, but Cookie obviously does too.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I think with like the trend above the 9 is the cleaner trend, right?
yeah.
But if you want to be investing, that doesn't necessarily always work, right? If you want to get the lowest prices, it's all about where you buy, right? So, for example, right, if you waited till Square reclaimed the weekly 9, you were already buying, I think, $15 above its low,
Yep.
right? And then if you're waiting for confirmation after reclaim you're buying,
Yeah.
nearly 40-50% off the bottom, which is fine because you're still catching the trade and you're still going to get the upside. But for the people who are like, I was waiting for 38, right? Got the 38. And then when you see the buying kick in, it was an automatic buy, right? So the gains over time can manifest in different ways, right? So it's like, if you follow the trend, that's fine. But if you're trying to accumulate, then that's a different conversation. I think that's a lot of times people don't know what they want from the markets and they just start putting money in and then they get confused on what to do.
Well, I think to that point, I think that they do know what they want. They want easy profits, right? And not every trade is an investment, and not every investment is a trade, right?
Yep.
So I think that's where a lot of people get confused, and I myself I got confused a lot with that because, I mean, at my core, I'm a long term investor, and I've had to get over a lot of my bias of being a long term investor to be able to successfully trade. And I think that can be a real stumbling block for a lot of people. When they enter the markets, they'll throw, 1,000, 5,000, whatever at, full port trades, and it goes against them. And they're like, I lost, 50, 60, 70, 80% of my money. I'm done with trading. Well, were you trying to invest in something, or were you trying to trade something? And I think that can be a real challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway,
Like the October bottom, right? Back in 2022.
on what?
The
GP?
October bottom back in 2022. We talked about this, I think, on the podcast, which is, dude, we've been sideways for a year, right? The trend is not down, it's sideways. And so when you had the essential double bottom in October 2022 and you weren't buying it, you could have gotten another opportunity in December, obviously, but a lot of the names were already taking off, right? When,
Yeah.
like, let's take Shop, for example. Shop hit 23, I think, in the October bottom. And then when it had the retrace, it wasn't anywhere close to that, right? It was at 29, so 25% above. Right. So like I think that it's also good to realize trend, right? So if the trend is not down, but it's sideways or up, then your time frame is what's important.
Yeah, and I think that probably goes to bias, though. I think 2022 did such a good job at conditioning people to just getting clobbered that I bet you the overwhelming majority of new traders, new investors looked at like the Qs bottoming out as like a bear flag, looking for continuation going continuation to the downside versus like you're talking about, the trend isn't down anymore. The trend is sideways.
Well, I mean, let's
You know what I'm saying?
let's go back and relive October 2022, right? GP and I were arguing every week. It's in a downtrend until it's not. And he's like, no, it's been going sideways for almost a year now, Bags, right? And I'm like, well, here's my trend line. It's still going down. And I mean, I can still draw the trend line. It's still there. But it's two different ways of perceiving the charts. And I think 2022 did a good job of sell almost every rip, right? There was no one was safe from a massive fall off in a day, a week, or a month, right? Like that was what 22 really conditioned people into. And yeah, I mean, luckily for me, I got long a lot of names, after Thanksgiving and into February of 23. And, it's worked out well for me, but you weren't wrong if you were buying in October. Anyway.
Oh, you're not wrong at any point, right? As long as you have your
time frame. How many times do we say it on this podcast? Time frame.
And when you guys talk about time frame, I think the one thing that people quite often overlook in technical analysis is how powerful calendar flips are. Monthly, quarterly, yearly, and like if you saw the trend change in October 2022 or you thought it was the bottom, fine, but everything that was happening in 2022 stopped literally happening the week of, like, I think January 1st in the queues, right? It was holding the 21 weekly EMA, not SMA, not breaking it, right? So like literally that was the calendar flip. All you needed to do was swap years and everything changed. And so you're comparing 2022 to 2023 and you just can't, right? In terms of price behavior. And you saw it via technical analysis because it was holding the short-term moving averages. It was pushing higher from support, not breaking support. And so like you can do that on monthly flips too, right? October to November. That was a one-day flip and the market has roared beastly through the last 6-7 weeks, right? And all it was a calendar flip. And so I think that's stuff that you have to recognize as well when you're like when you're in like death mode, especially October when they're just selling nonstop and you see the monthly flip. It's usually a good sign that things are going to flip as well after such a prolonged. It was what, 5 months straight down for the most part in many names. 4 months, 5 months from June all the way to October.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if you put the Qs over the SPYs, it held the 9-month rising moving average. Right, so you can talk about the calendar flip, but also the technical lines up with it as well.
Randy, what's up? Thanks for being late. You and I, we need to meet in HR's office after the podcast. It's funny. For some reason, I think that's yours, GP, right? Your Alexa goes off for us. That's cool.
Yes. It's my computer speaker, so the Bluetooth is always weird. So
we're 20 minutes in. We started a little bit late, but good talk. And I love the way you segued us for the calendar flip, GP, because it is time for our quarterly stock picks, which will take us into 2024. We're going to let you guys know what they are right now. Since I took the title, I'm doing the hands over my head, patting my own back right now. Since I won, I will start And I felt like Nick really went for the grand slam last time on his pick with Fastly. I'm going high beta too. And I kind of played it safe-ish. Tesla is still a great pick. And I was thinking about, should I run it back with Tesla? And I absolutely could, but I'm not going to. I am.
Why? Because it's been 19 days in the sideways pattern.
No,
No, I'm just joking. I'm like,
I mean,
people are
full
so
disclosure,
frustrated with
I'm
it.
swinging Tesla calls right now. So I like Tesla short term, medium term, and long term, and I like Elon on no terms. How about that? See what I did there, GP?
No, I wasn't paying
Um,
attention.
uh, anyway, my pick is Freshworks, a name that I have had on my watch list for far too long. Freshworks is a software company, so IGV name, very similar to what Salesforce does. So I like it. I love the way this looks. I love the way this is setting up. I'm taking Freshworks right here. I will be starting a position in it soon. I have not already, but I will be soon. But it looks absolutely phenomenal, at least to me. And we throw out price targets, but I'm going to say this is, I don't know, a $30 stock by the end of the quarter. So that's a nice little bump. So that's my take is Freshworks. And Nick, I'm going to punt, pass, and kick over to you.
Sure. So I already own Path, and so I was trying to go back and forth between Path and BlackRock were the two that I was gonna pick, and then Will tweeted something about URI today or this afternoon, and I like it's already breaking out versus BlackRock hasn't quite broken out of its range yet. So I'm gonna go with URI. Yeah. So uh I think that longer term, I freaking love the monthly. I'm sorry, the weekly. And it's got like almost a 200-point range from basically the pattern that I'm looking at, which is an ascending triangle. Let's see.
Nick, this looks exactly like GoDaddy, by the way.
Does it?
And look what GoDaddy just did. When you get a chance for this, finish your
Oh
point.
Daddy.
shit! Man, that I totally missed that.
Wow. All right, Nick, well, give us a price target now that you see the GoDaddy chart. We're talking to 1,000.
URI. I mean, I don't want to say in one quarter, but like I have a measured move on it at basically the 700.
700. So I'm
Yeah.
going for a 50% gainer, and you're going for what? Roughly a 39% gainer. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm digging it.
I mean, I think the potential in Path is bigger in terms of percentage gains, but I'm gonna go with it. At least is where I can blame Will if it's a dud.
No. We
Just kidding.
we stand by our own.
Absolutely.
We're not blaming anybody.
Absolutely.
So GP, we got a first. We got to talk about Nikola. You said Thursday that's what you were taking.
Yeah, well, I spend time on charts, and as much as I like the volume, they literally are not a company. So, and it's under $1 billion, I believe. So I think we talked about being in the 5 to 10 billion or above range.
All right, fair enough. I'll let it slide.
It's a small cap. So, it can still do what it does, but
We'll keep it on watch.
yeah.
Uh.
So for me, it's AAP, Advanced Auto Parts.
Oh, all right.
AAP.
It's a terrible chart. It's
Yeah,
a
it looks
god-awful
like
chart.
absolute ass. Why do you like this?
So if you make it a quarterly,
Sure, I'd love to do that for you.
that quarterly is essentially putting in a doji at that kind of base breakout, right? So it's retesting here. So I think for me, it's if it holds this kind of 47 area that it tested, it's going back to 81, and then it could die after that again. But that's just where I like it. I like it's been 244 straight down to 47 without flinching, 7 straight quarters of red, and we are potentially putting in a green morning star candle on a quarterly here, so it could be very powerful.
Why is it performed so poorly, especially considering like O'Reilly and AutoZone are and Copart are in like the same group?
Oh, I don't
You have any
know.
idea? You know, okay.
I this is just chart based. I haven't looked at any of the fundamentals. I don't actually have a
Sure.
position. I was looking to put one on today, but I didn't, not yet at least. I'm seeing if we can get a nice pullback into like the right around the 53, 54 range for a final test. And then I'll probably look to get long, but I like it. And your risk to reward is pretty decent. You can honestly just take Friday's low, right? You don't
Yeah,
have
I mean,
to.
So
Yeah,
you're
versus
trying to
50.
get 54. I'm sorry, you said GP.
Yeah,
And,
like 54,
what
55 is
what
what
do
I
you
was looking for.
what's your estimated price target?
I think it gets back to that pivot, which is 81, 82.
81, 82. I see you going I see what you're doing, GP. You're like, swinging swinging for everything isn't all it's cracked up to be.
I just like these. I focus a lot on understanding bottoming patterns, right? So um I like what this potentially represents, because the stock market goes up and down, right? And stocks
Yes.
go up and down, and so we want opportunities in names that are beaten up. So I like it here, but it could fail, no doubt. It could just be it could continue the downtrend. It's above the 9 weekly moving average as well.
So
Right,
for
it's
those
closed
who are
3.
just tuning in, Bags took Freshworks, and I'm saying about $30. I'll say $30, but about $30. Um, Nick JFDI is taking United Rental, and he's saying 700.
I don't know
Can we
if it
just
has
make
that
it
kind
quarter
of
end
bump
as
in a
well?
quarter, but I think that's where it's heading.
Yeah. No, we know that we're just looking for gains. This is just a competition to see who gains the most. We're just putting price targets at some point in the future, not saying this quarter, that we would like
Sure,
to see
sure.
these stocks make that. Is that a better way of framing it, Nick?
Yeah, totally.
Perfect. And Advanced Auto Parts, 81 or 82 by GP, which is the pivot. I like it. I was actually looking at the O'Reilly chart the other night, GP, and if O'Reilly's going to keep on chugging, I don't know why Advance can't. I mean, look at that bad boy.
O'Reilly and AutoZone, are they
What
ever
I
gonna
don't
go down?
what I didn't understand is it's like I think their revenues are like $20 billion and their market cap's 3. So I probably should look into why it got beaten up,
Yeah.
but I'm just focusing on the chart at the
But
moment.
you like the bottom. He likes the bottom, folks.
I like the risk reward here. That's all.
The R/R. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Did you guys see Lulu?
Yep.
I'm glad I really didn't short Lulu.
God, the more I think about Lulu, like the fact that like any dude hasn't owned Lulu since like pretty much the fucking IPO, I think is an idiotic move, considering like What
That's a
dude
good
does
chart.
not like Lululemon pants? Maybe not quite IPO, but
I don't own any, and
anyway.
I've never worn any, Nick. Just to be like honest about it, like I
Say
maybe
what?
I should. I've never owned any Lulu pants, or
Well,
I've
I
never tried any
haven't,
on.
but I mean, every chick should definitely have them.
Don't get me wrong, I love some tights now.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
serious.
man.
They're great for workout. Anywho, anywho.
Abercrombie has been an absolute animal as well in terms of retail.
Dude, all of retail's been on fire. Costco just hit all-time highs.
Yes,
Yeah, that was
yes,
pretty.
yes, yes.
Macy's just got bought out. Target reversed. And then what's happening with the pair trade is Walmart's still getting pummeled.
Yeah.
Um, hey, remember my awesome Carmack short? Um, I'm not ready to announce another short yet, but I came up with some real world anecdotal evidence today, and it's in the retail sector. So I'm going to do a little bit more homework. But you guys saw Hasbro laid off like 11,000 people today, right? Did you guys
Oh,
see that?
damn. No.
Because holiday toy sales are slumping. Anyway,
I mean, do kids play with toys anymore? I'm just kidding.
well, Nick, you're a dad.
I know.
My kids seem to want the biggest toys, and you can't buy every biggest toy, right? Like when I was growing up and a kid, like we'd get a whole lot of like small to mid-level toys. And like I think kids nowadays are like us and our stock picks swinging for the fences and wanting the big toys. And if so, you know, the quantity versus quality argument comes into mind. Anyway, hi Rachel, thanks for being here back to back. We appreciate you.
Is Hasbro making a reversal off the bottom?
Well, I mean, if for the last 18 months, every single um, time that there's been a layoff, the stock shot higher. So what did it do in the after hours? It dumped after hours, actually. I mean,
No, this is going to 36, 37.
I don't know. I don't look at the Hasbro chart, but anyway, that leads into some of my anecdotal evidence that I want to do some more homework on in the retail sector. So we'll see. Maybe next week, as we lead into Christmas, I might tee it up.
No. All-time highs today. Broadcom, Costco, ServiceNow.
Nick, you still in Broadcom? You sell any?
AVGO, no, I am in Clack right now though.
Clack,
And
clack, clack.
LRCX. Yeah.
FICO.
So you sold out all your Broadcom position?
Yeah.
All right.
I just didn't re-enter.
All right. All right. All right.
Yeah, definitely
Costco.
kicking myself for that one.
Costco even gapped up. How we called this what back in May?
Remember all the Head and Shoulder stock?
I do. I said, no, this is just it's getting tight like gnat booty. Looks so good. All-time highs. Spy, not all-time high, but getting there. And that closed today, right? Like just mean mugging them into the close.
You know what I find hilarious about the SPY conversations is that everyone has been talking about how the Qs have been led by seven stocks, right? And they call them the Mag Seven. They used to be Fang, Fangma, whatever acronym you want to call it. But that it was only those, and today all of those got absolutely thrashed, right? Because they were rebalancing. And you know what the Qs did today?
Yep.
Qs still, and so people are still calling this bearish. Oh, the Mag 7's not participating. You're like, what? Like, is there a way that you possibly think that there's nothing but bearishness out there, right? Like, it's just like, okay, well, nothing else is participating, so that's bad. Okay, now everything is participating except for the sevens. Like, well, we can't break out without the Mag 7, so this is bearish too. And you're like,
Bears are going to bear.
You're
right?
just going to be miserable.
Yeah, they're just miserable. Miserable.
That's what I was reading. I was like, really? So if they what is the only way that they seem happy is if everything breaks out at the same time? Is that required? Is that what's required? And then they'll just call manipulation. Or how ridiculous this market is.
Yeah, I mean they'll never be happy because they're miserable inside.
That's exactly right.
So it's like, yeah, GP, I saw someone, I can't remember who tweeted about that. But God, if I can remember it, I'll send it to you because there was a statistic tied to that, and I don't remember what it was or who it is. But I favorited it, so I'm gonna look for it if I can find it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think Rachel, agreed that they missed out on the moves, but I think everyone was expecting like 60 to 70% down on the indices, and they never got that. But almost every stock, even Tesla, was down like 80%, right? Like, and Tesla's still down 50%. So, there was so much damage that happened in 2022 to 2021. It started actually, and finished in 2022, and people still wanted to see the indices drop, and they didn't get that, so they're still bearish and they're missing out on the whole ride.
I love me some Tesla a long time right now. I mean, not only did it do a weekly 20 save today, it also did a daily 20 save. I don't know.
It is just frustrating everyone though right now.
Well, yeah. But when it releases, boy, it goes.
Yeah, the only way this releases is gap through everything, either up or down.
Exactly.
There's no like gradual increase here.
Elon says he's got a Cybertruck mind meld, and I don't know. Makes up some other type of stuff. By the way, Cookie just hit me on the DM. He gave us his pick, and it is Soxel. So we were just giving the semis a lot of love. So I gotta admit, Soxel looks damn good too.
Yeah, shit.
He went Soxel.
Damn you, Cookie.
He went with is that a 3x ETF?
Yeah, it's 3x semiconductors.
Smart.
Yeah, no, I mean, Soxel is my biggest ETF position. I love it. I love to hear you say it. It looks awesome to me.
That breakout on AMD today, I thought was freaking awesome, and an awesome close as well on gigantic volume.
So one thing, I know we've given Cookie a lot of love today, and rightfully deserved. One thing that he posted last week that he and I stayed a little bit longer on the pod or on our meeting and talked about was he made a post, I want to say Wednesday, that after AMD's show off of the new AI chip, he said he thought that AMD would double quicker from here than NVIDIA has. And really? I completely agree with that.
Yeah, well, you're looking at $1 trillion market cap versus what, 100?
Yeah. But I think the point being, though, GP, not just the doubling, and this is what I wanted to talk to him about. NVIDIA is still a monster, right? I mean, look at the gains that NVIDIA has made, right? And if you look at it as fast and faster and fastest, NVIDIA has been fastest, right? And I'm not trying to make a comparison of the two charts because there's really not one to be made necessarily. However, from this point in the chart, I mean, we're at a, what is that? 20% from all-time highs, roughly.
Yep.
If this doubles up from here, I mean, we're up in the let's just be kind and say 230s, 240s, because he called that back here in the 120s. I think the perception of AMD has to change, similar to the perception of NVIDIA's the perception of NVIDIA changing after it had just become a rocket ship, right? Like they're both momentum stocks. And I think the point that you made previously, GP, with Elon's going to buy all of NVIDIA's chips that they have, and every other company is buying all of NVIDIA's chips. Well, there's got to be a bottleneck at some point. And if AMD can solidify them as being as good as or second best to NVIDIA, you've got to see a huge move higher, similarly to what has happened since the AI surge in NVIDIA from this roughly $200 level, right? So if we just take $200 and go to here, that's 125%. Sounds like that's a double to me, right? If you're AMD. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. So do you think AMD doubles first or Intel?
That's a great question, because if you we pointed it out earlier, everything is fucking running in the semiconductor space, and obviously Cookie loves it, or he wouldn't have chosen Soxel.
I'm gonna go with AMD.
Will Intel reach 90 before AMD reaches 250, 240?
Nah, I'm gonna go with AMD.
I'm gonna go with AMD.
I'm gonna go with Intel.
We know. You didn't
Hey,
have to tell us.
No,
Tell me
I was
how
thinking that in my
Intel's
head,
performed
too.
versus AMD since our call.
Tell us what, GB, I'm sorry.
I said, tell me how Intel has performed versus AMD since our call.
When
Our
was
bet.
that was like somewhere in here.
It was like 28, 29.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was
It
like,
was like June 1st, June.
Yeah,
1st.
yeah, it was like that last week of May. So let's just say that's 50%. And AMD since then, I mean, it's basically flat.
Yes.
So I'm still sticking with AMD. That gives me even more belief in AMD, not less.
I agree. I understand why. I think the big part of the Intel conversation for me is when you have government backing into your product, like the Biden administration has, have a little bit more confidence in that also working. So I think it's got its safety net. And the amount of accumulation in Intel down here, and it hasn't even broken out really, is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I hear you, and I understand the Intel argument. I'm less bearish than I have been my entire life on Intel. I have been an Intel hater for a very long, and rightfully so. They've earned a lot of their.
Oh, they're garbage.
Yeah, they have earned a
They've
lot of
been.
my vitriol.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to shit talk them as bad as I have, but if I look at this chart, I'm looking at, all right, you're at resistance right here. So if Intel can get above, it's like $45, $46 area, there's probably some more upside. But let's see what happens here before we get too hot and bothered. The gains have been great from the 20s up to here.
Why have you been an AMD? I mean, I haven't liked AMD because
Intel.
anytime I
love AMD. Why haven't we liked Intel?
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah,
gonna
that's
say
not
AMD I
no
haven't
one.
liked because I have just traded it so poorly, but I misheard.
Yeah,
AMD trades poorly. That's
AMD
why.
is a bad trader. It's a hard trader. You either just got to buy it and just long it.
Dude, look at
Yep.
what they did last week, right? That was like that was pretty heavy volume off the 9-day moving average,
Oh, they
and then
absolutely ran over every short that was in the stock.
it just absolutely destroyed them. On what? Introducing like it's sold off based on what? And then what does it do? It obviously gaps up and goes, and you're like, what is this behavior? And this is the behavior that goes back to our original conversation when we started, which is context without like candles without context, right?
Yep.
So you're taking one candle and you're extrapolating an entire journey through it, and that's not how this works.
No.
Because that candle, as bad as it was, didn't even break the prior day's low. If you have, so here's a tidbit for what I've seen at least. If you have that kind of reversal and that kind of volume picking up, and it doesn't break the prior day's low, it's probably a false breakdown.
Yeah, you get the hell out of the way.
I didn't know it was going to happen in one day, but it's
Well,
probably a false
but
breakdown
I mean,
because
if we look
when
at
you
that
have that
cap,
increased volume and you can't break a pivot, it's most likely going to reverse the other way.
yeah,
Ooh.
it was lovely. One of my
Have
largest
you
positions. I was happy to see it.
check out MPWR?
MPWR, monolithic power. Whoa.
Yeah.
Are you and Randy talking on the side, pulling out these random ass? I mean, I'm
No,
used to.
I was typing in, it's in the semi space. So it was like I typed in actually I typed in ARM because I was checking out ARM's chart on MarketSmith, and MPWR pulled up as one of the top RS names.
It
It's
looks.
like NVIDIA, Broadcom, Rambus, AMD, and then MPWR are
I
like the
think.
five.
I think TSM looks great too.
That just moves like crap.
It does. It does. And ASML, that's a name that I wanted to get long in, never got long in. Um, I think that's going to be fine too. Not as fast movers as some of the other names, but I still think they're solid.
You know what's another one that's kind of obviously back on my radar after its move played out is with the interest rates coming down, potential Fed pivot. How does Redfin not start to bust a damn move here? Right? And there's heavy accumulation in this stock over the last, it essentially double bottom, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
Roku and Shop and stuff like that. And buyers stepped right in. So how is this not going to be insanely higher a year from now outside of a market collapse? Same Z and ZG, same thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's Z doing?
Not as much accumulation. That's why I think Redfin looks better, but that's me.
Yeah, I feel you.
Maybe Zillow buys Redfin.
I mean, again, after having gone through a selling of a house very recently, the buyers are still there. We
Oh,
still
they're
don't
just
have, we still don't have enough housing, and if rates stay put or rates cool, I think we're going to have a repeat of summers of long ago.
yeah.
That's just what I think.
Did Oracle have earnings tonight?
I have no clue. It's not an
Yes, they got smoked on earnings.
That's a shame.
You know what doesn't look good?
IBM,
No, MO.
Altria.
Yes.
What
Hell
do
of
we
a
think about weed?
why would you want no.
I don't know.
It may do well. I just don't want any part of it.
I don't know. Well, CGC is only 73 cents. What's the old MJ doing? It's had to reverse split. Nope, $3.22. I don't know, GP. That looks like it's a bottoming process to me.
It could be, but there's so much volume in these heavy short interest names that I just,
Can't trust it.
yeah. You know what's also been doing really, really, really well? RCL.
Oh
RC
my gosh, I know.
Royal Caribbean.
I think we talked
I
about this, right?
Yes, we did.
And bang, just straight into that moving average and bang, bang. It's just,
Another
Dude,
name
I
that I like in the
fucking
travel
hate
sector
cruises.
is you. Clear. I think this is a bottoming process right here too.
EXPE as well.
I want to go on a cruise or a vacation. I haven't been on a vacation in 3 years. GP, I thought I was going with you to New Zealand.
I'm going on
I
Saturday.
know. I
I'm
think it's too.
joining.
I think it's too late for me and Mrs. Bags to get tickets at this point.
Yeah, man. Tickets were actually ridiculously expensive this year. I don't know why.
Be sure to take glorious photos for us and share them.
We shall. Select quote. Can we who is this Marion guy? What are we looking at here? Why am I even pulling up this chart?
What are we doing?
SLQT?
SLQT.
Yes.
All right.
Looks great. Can you please elaborate?
Yeah, Marion, tell us why you think you like it.
Does the crowd have any picks for the quarter?
Yeah, does anybody have their picks? Forgot to make a poll. Par for the course on dad duty these days.
Yeah. You know, it's another one that's been a monster.
You tell.
No, NTNX.
I think I
Chewy finally looks like it's bottomed, yes.
Nutanix.
uh,
Beyond has a huge short interest in it. I saw earlier this evening.
Yes. It's just a short squeeze artist.
Well, I mean, we've seen what short squeezes can do.
Yep.
does anybody even eat that stuff though?
And what?
I
Does
used
anybody
to.
even did you like it?
Yeah, it's fine. You just
Yeah.
fix it like you would a burger. Put a little Montreal steak seasoning or salt and pepper and some garlic powder, and you're good.
Yeah,
All
Melly looks
right.
awesome.
I'm a
Yeah, what
soy
a
boy.
freaking beast. I'm not. I've been
Jason,
eating like freaking raw eggs, raw steak. Only thing
Jason
I cook
says
is my chicken.
Ionic or you. You looks absolutely awesome.
Yeah, agreed.
I love it. And I might take a swing on it tomorrow. Near profitability on select quote.
Just keep tight
What's
stops, Rachel.
wrong?
If you're responsibly long, you're following the trend. So just make sure if the trend breaks, as soon as you get a close below the 9 moving day average, start
Out.
getting cautious.
Out.
Yeah.
I
It all
sold
depends on
Snap
your
too
time frame.
early. Yeah, Snap has had a nice run. It really has. It's
Pins as well.
I mean, I'm not gonna are you people big on net? Rachel, I love net. I have been pounding the table on net since it was $20, hun. Love it. Love it. It's my baby. I will always have a special place in my heart.
Just needs to break
I
out
like
or
TWLL quite a bit. Here.
Twilio,
Yeah.
I'm long that one too.
Yep.
you know what looks good too?
What?
BLDR.
Yeah.
BLDR, Builders First Source.
Dailies just consolidating. It's just it's
Do you see
nice.
Toll Brothers?
Yeah, they're all just hitting all-time highs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot. I personally don't like markets when everything looks this good. So
Sell it all and set off into retirement.
What is it? The XHB
Yeah,
pretty
home
much.
builders.
Did it make?
all-time highs.
Yeah, I made it's all time highs
Yep.
now.
Yep.
Look at burritos.
Look at what?
Burritos. Look at burritos. CMG.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
is that a commodity now?
Man, it
No,
went 3-week tight too last week.
and it's just all-time highs.
Damn.
Gone, gone. Speaking of near profitability, I mean, look at that bad boy.
Ooh.
Sentinel One, just slapping folks around.
Yeah.
Look at that, Nick. Oh, sexy.
I like those. What do they call them? Power gaps. Like basically, I'm sure it was an EPS move. Like the RR is so easy on those types of trades because even if you weren't in it, you just, I mean, obviously you're gonna be setting your stop under what is that Thursday's low now?
Sentinel One was a nice little payday for your boy.
Yeah.
Randy sold a third of Grinder. You're not getting enough action, Randy?
Is
You
that
got
like, is that the grinder, like the grinder
Yes,
app?
that is Grinder. Yes, that is the app.
Yes, they
It
went public
is
via
not.
SPAC.
Oh my gosh.
It's a
I
very
do.
low float.
I think Rivian is setting up, Jason. I agree. Irresponsibly long Rivian. Another name, talking my book, that I think has a S move coming, a Sentinel One move coming. Very similar chart. If you look at the old S here, very similar chart. I mean, there's that obvious earnings death right there. That's not the same. But SoFi is getting out of the crypto space. They announced this quite a bit ago for them to have their bank charter. They're out of crypto in a few days. Actually, I think it's this week. So I think that is actually going to be a catalyst for the stock. Don't take my word for it. Do your own research. But Bags increased his position not too long ago.
Yeah, there's an insane amount of stuff that looks awesome. And then
Airbnb, yeah, I like Airbnb. We talk about vacations and rentals. There you go.
I don't know
But
if Rachel's typing. I don't know if she was talking irresponsibly long, like on margin, or just like massively long without much cash on hand. I think I don't know. I think we're in like a no sell, like pretty much sell your weakest
would you happen to
positions.
call it a lockout rally?
Yeah, yeah.
whoever coined that phrase, boy, were they on to something.
I mean, if you're in something that's not participating, like why would you even like why waste your time? Like even like Tesla, for instance, like why even bother holding it if you can move it into something that's moving well right now? Because you're gonna have plenty of time to either get long Tesla if it breaks this trend line or finally bust basically above 250 and really gets moving. Unless you're in a position from obviously, much lower.
Hey, Randy, are you buying Victoria's Secret here too with your grinder cash? I'll wait for your reply. I know we're on a little bit of a delay. I was looking at Visco today. And that's why I'm asking, Randy. You put us on it way back here and
Oh.
none of us did anything. Things like Rivian, I feel opportunity cost is not to be in because when it moves, it will be so fast. That's right, Rachel. Fast movers, high beta, but it moves fast in both directions. What's some other names here we got?
Yeah, the question is why weren't people buying it when it was hitting 11, 12, 13, right?
I was.
I know we were, but this question I asked Rachel or anyone else, right, is like
Yeah, why weren't you buying in 15?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just had chances in 15s. Why weren't you buying? You should have been buying. I put on some pretty big options plays in the 15s and the 16s and the 17s. It was a beaut. Yes, you are buying. Randy is buying. Are you sold out of this go? All right. Randy's cold blooded. He don't love. He's like UGP. He don't love them hoes. You know, get my profits and go home.
Time frame matters.
Get my profits and go. I mean, it was a beautiful run in disco, but I think it's setting up here. It's at a pivot. It's at a pivot for me. So I kind of like it.
Hey, do you still talk to Blackouts? I haven't seen him on in a while.
No, I haven't seen him on in a while. He was on Twitter for a minute, but it's been a couple months probably.
Yeah.
I know
He's been pretty bearish all year, hasn't he?
I don't know if he's been bearish. I think he's been bearish select things. He's
Okay.
been reminding me of my guy Bear Charts. It's finding the crack right in something that you think can go short or go negative on. It's not shorting everything. It's being very selective, kind of like my CarMax deal, right? So I think that's been more where he's at. I know he was looking at maybe starting up a service. I don't know how that's going. I've been practically off the Twitters and the stock twits a lot, considering our move that we recently had. So I'm just now feel like I'm getting back in the game, so to speak, which is a good feeling. But no,
Nice.
GP, I haven't really seen Blackouts Zach around.
Yeah. Yeah, he was pretty
Blackouts was the
active.
ultimate pretender. I'll say it. Marion, I don't know. I don't think he's a pretender.
I think he's doing what we all do, which is try to trade, man.
Yeah, we all swing and we all miss. I think accountability is a big thing, and I've seen him take accountability for some of his trades, but I can't speak to his daily trading or what else he does. But Zach was always cool with us, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's what I
got
was asking.
love.
There's a lot of people who make calls, right? And when you make calls, the potential to be wrong is usually like 80-20.
Yeah, I was gonna say the potential to be wrong is greater than the potential of being right. It's the gladiator, right? The gladiator in the ring. That's it's easy to be in the peanut gallery, but I like people who post their charts and make their calls, and if they work, great. I think they should be congratulated and given props for those. And when they don't, and they come back on and say I missed it, I think that's honorable.
I think for the majority of us that aren't selling anything, we should stick to sharing ideas. And those that are selling something, like, yeah, I agree with you. Like, I applaud those that eat their
I
words
sell something, but I
both
still don't
ways.
post ideas because I give you my thoughts, right? I think
Yeah,
that's more like I'm always in the camp that you should learn, right? And I go through other people's charts to learn from them. You should be going through my charts to learn from me.
yeah.
I post because it's my thoughts and I get to go back and look at them and see what I got wrong or see what I missed, or maybe I didn't miss anything and it's just one of those
Yeah.
moments, right?
I mean, those that are posting like P&L on their P&Ls on their trades and like the chest pounding, like when they're right, but then you don't hear from them when they're wrong. It's like if I don't, there's, I guess, yeah, I don't know. I've
Yeah,
unfollowed the people that irks me that did
What do you
that.
mean,
So
Nick? I've never missed a trade.
I know it feels good, don't it, to be like
Only
just a
gains.
nonstop
Only
winner?
gains up in
God,
here, brother.
is that because all the ones that expire you don't see?
That used to be me, honestly. I would let them go to zero because I wouldn't sell them, but that's not me anymore. I will get out and take my 10, 15, 20% and walk the F away and live to fight another day. That takes seat time to really learn how to do that. It's easy to say it, but when it's actually your money going down the tube, you do that once or twice, and you know, negative 20 is always better than negative 100 all day, every day.
It depends, right? If your negative 20 is all you're risking, then it's the same trade.
What do you mean?
Right? Let's say you take $1,000 trade, right?
Yeah.
On an option.
Yeah.
And you're willing to lose $200.
Right.
And my trade is only $200. It's the same thing.
Yeah. I know, but if you only lost $20 of that $200 as opposed to $200 of that $200, negative 20 is greater than negative 100 all day, every day.
Yes. Yes, but I realized a long time ago that I'd rather
Yeah,
be
no,
in.
I know what you're saying, GP. You brought it up before that, instead of risking the amount on the trade, you would just rather put that amount in the trade and be like, all right, this is what I've got, and whatever it does, it does. That doesn't mean you let it go to zero, but if it happened to go to zero, that was what you were willing to risk in the trade. So I get it.
That was the risk, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we are way past time. But love you guys.
Awesome one.
This was a good one. I think we covered a lot of stuff. Hey, and we got up to 20 some people watching tonight, and that was awesome.
That was impressive.
So shout out to everybody who likes, shares, comments, shows love, tuned in. That was awesome. So we appreciate that. Let's keep the momentum going. I'm going to run down our stock picks one more time. GP with Advanced Auto, Nick with United Rentals, Bags with Freshworks, and Cookie Monster, the pivotologist, with Soxel. So that's our three, four for the quarter, and we will. What, the week before we gotta set an end date.
We just do end of quarter, March 31st, to make it easier.
March 31st. Sure. And that way we can be on a schedule, right?
Yeah, so it would be April 1st, right? So that's our Monday call.
March 31st
is a Sunday.
I'm taking down the closing prices for today. 5708, 505.14, 2053, and 2611. So those are the prices of record. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you for your time and your insight and the conversation and the friendship and the love and the hand holding and the holding my hair while I puke in the toilet.
Anytime.
Love you guys, and thanks everybody. Thanks for stopping in and joining us. We will see you next week, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern.